Welcome back to Brian's Brain. In the last episode, we talked about designing the scene, coming up with the idea, and asking where someone would actually love to spend 12 peaceful hours. Today, we're going to take the next step. How do these ideas become images? I think some people imagine I simply type a sentence into a computer and whatever comes out becomes the video. But for me, that's really just the beginning. Building these images is a creative process, and like anything creative, it usually takes a little patience. Before I ever build an image, it doesn't begin with a prompt. It begins with a vision. Usually I'll have a place in my mind before I ever open ChatGPT. Sometimes it's inspired by somewhere I've been. Sometimes it's a memory. Sometimes it's simply a quiet place that doesn't exist anywhere except in my imagination. I don't start by asking what should I generate today. I start by asking where would I honestly love to spend the night? Then I begin building that place in my mind. Where's the bed? Where should the fireplace be? What do I want to see when I look out the windows? Is there a lake? A river? A mountain valley? Is it raining? Is it snowing? Where is the moon tonight? What would it sound like if I opened the door? Most importantly, how would the room make me feel? Would it feel warm, peaceful, safe? Would I want to make a cup of coffee, sit down with a book, and stay there for a while? Those are questions that guide every image I create. The computer helps me build the picture, but the vision has to come first. The software doesn't decide where the fireplace belongs. It doesn't decide whether the room should feel cozy or open, or whether the rain should feel gentle instead of heavy. Those choices come from imagination. Everything you see later, the lightning, the furniture, the window, the weather, all of it goes from that very first vision. And over time, I've learned something that's become my own little test. If I can imagine spending the night there, then I know I'm heading in the right direction. Once I have the vision in my mind, I start thinking about comfort, not comfort in the sense of luxury, comfort in the sense of peace. Every object that goes into one of these rooms has a purpose. A leather chair isn't there just because it looks nice. It's there because it feels like a place you could spend an evening reading a good book. A blanket isn't there to decorate the chair. It quietly suggests warmth. A lamp doesn't simply light the room. It creates little pools of soft light that make the space feel welcoming after dark. The wood beams, the books, the fireplace, the cup of coffee sitting on the table, a map hanging on the wall, a globe in the corner, a reading table beside the chair. None of those things are random. Each one tells a small part of the story. Together they begin to make the room feel like someone has actually lived there. I think that's important because if a room feels real, it's much easier to imagine yourself inside it. I try to avoid adding things just because I can. Every object should earn its place. Sometimes I'll actually remove furniture instead of adding more. If the room starts feeling crowded, or if something distracts from the peaceful feeling, it probably doesn't belong there. One of the things I've learned over time is that quiet rooms usually don't need very much. Just a few carefully chosen details can completely change the feeling of a place. So I'm not filling a room with furniture. I'm trying to give your eyes somewhere comfortable to rest. One of the things you'll probably notice about almost every Brian's brain image is the windows. Over time, those windows became bigger and bigger and bigger. That wasn't an accident. I realized that the room isn't really the destination. The room is the shelter. The world outside is just as important. When you're sitting beside a warm fireplace, you're also watching snow fall across the mountains. When you're reading a book, you're listening to a gentle rain on the glass. When you're relaxing in a comfortable chair, you're looking out across a quiet lake beneath the moon. For me, the outside world completes the room. That's why you'll see mountains, rivers, forests, lakes, falling snow, gentle rain, moonlight reflecting on the water, or the first light of dawn touching distant peaks. Those aren't just backgrounds, they're part of the experience. Sometimes people ask why I use such large windows. The answer is actually pretty simple. I want you to feel connected to the world outside while still feeling completely safe inside. There's something deeply relaxing about sitting in a warm room while watching the weather from the comfort of a chair. You can enjoy the storm without being in the storm. You can watch the snow fall without feeling cold. You can listen to the rain while sitting beside a warm fire. That's a feeling I've always loved. As I kept creating new places, those windows became larger because I wanted the outside world to become part of the story. The room gives you comfort, the landscape gives you wonder. And when those two come together, that's when the place begins to feel real. As I continued creating more and more places, I noticed something. Even when I really loved an image, it still felt like a photograph. You looked at it, you appreciated it, and then your eyes stopped moving. That wasn't the experience I wanted. I wanted people to feel like they were quietly spending time inside the room. That's when I started experimenting with much wider images. Not because wider is always better, but because it allows the camera to move very slowly. Instead of showing you everything at once, the room begins to reveal itself. Maybe you first notice the fireplace. Then your eyes drift toward a comfortable chair. A few minutes later, you discover a reading table. Eventually, the window comes into view. And beyond them, mountains, forests, rivers, or a quiet lake beneath the moon. Nothing is hurried. Nothing is demanding your attention. The room simply unfolds at its own pace. That's become one of the guiding ideas behind Brian's brain. I don't want viewers to feel like they're watching a presentation. I want them to feel like they're quietly exploring a peaceful place. Sometimes the journey continues even further. Instead of stopping with one view, the camera slowly dissolves into another angle of the same very room. You're still in the same place, you're simply looking around. It feels less like changing scenes and more like turning your head. Some people have asked why I spend so much time creating these extra wide panoramas. The answer is simple. I don't think of the image as a picture anymore. I think of it as a place. The camera slowly explores. If someone forgets they're watching a video and instead feels like they're spending the evening inside that room, then I've accomplished exactly what I was hoping to create. Once the first image appears, the creative work really begins. People sometimes assume the first version is the one I use. Actually, that's pretty rare. I spend a lot of time simply looking. Sometimes I'll sit with an image for a few minutes before changing anything. Then I start asking questions. Does this room feel balanced? Is the fireplace where it should be? Would the chair feel better over by the window? Should that lamp be a little brighter or maybe disappear altogether? Would the room feel more inviting with the reading table? Should there be more books or fewer? Maybe the wood stove belongs on the opposite wall. Maybe the bed should face the mountains instead of the fireplace. Sometimes I'll change the viewpoint completely. I'll build another version from the opposite side of the room just to see how it feels. Other times I'll simplify things. If a room begins to feel crowded, I'll start removing things instead of adding them. I've learned that peaceful places usually don't need to impress you. They simply need to feel believable. That's really what I'm looking for. Not perfection, believability. Because when a room feels believable, your imagination takes over. You stop studying the picture and you begin imagining yourself there. One thing I've discovered over time is that tiny changes can make an enormous difference. A chair moved a few feet, a lamp placed beside a window, a softer glow from the fireplace, a wider view of the mountains, a little more rain on the glass. Sometimes one small change makes the entire room feel believable. And that's usually when I know I'm getting close. Well, I hope this has given you a better idea of how I approach building these images. Every room starts as an idea, then slowly becomes a place I'd actually like to spend time in. In the next episode, we'll leave the images behind for a little while and start talking about something that's just as important, the sounds. Because even the most beautiful room won't truly come alive until you can hear it. I'll see you in episode 4.